Hello, everybody. First of all, congratulations. We're actually halfway beyond the halfway point of reInvent. So we've made it this far. We can get through a couple more sessions, a couple more days. This is actually my 7th reInvent, but my first with Hitachi. So it's really great that you guys were able to make it here. One thing I know about reInvent, around this time, everybody's brains start getting a little bit sore with all the information and all the people. So we kind of have two goals on today's presentation. One is not to give you more of a headache, but the second thing is to hopefully you learn a little bit more about Hitachi overall, as well as you take maybe get some ideas in regards to some projects you might be doing into 2025. So who am I? I'm Paul Blish. I'm the Vice President of One Hitachi's AWS Partnership, really focusing on Hitachi has a lot of different business units. About 6 to 10 of them within Hitachi work with AWS. And I sit as the control tower in regards to how we kind of combine all the different Hitachi business units on how we can go to market. I'm also the group account manager for Amazon and AWS for Hitachi, and that's what we sell to Amazon, right? So you could look at Hitachi Energy, think about selling transformers to AWS data centers and such. And I'm just here to kind of kick things off and introduce a great group of people. We thought it would be good to just kind of do rapid fire in regards to some key groups that are working with AWS in some of our customers. So I want to just spend 1 or 2 minutes on One Hitachi, on who Hitachi is. We have Ted from Hitachi Vantara that's going to come on to talk a little bit about our infrastructure and data storage group. And then we're really happy to have Chris from Toyota North America on some projects he's been working on with AWS and Hitachi Digital Services. And then we're going to close out with Hitachi Global Logic, which is our digital engineering organization with Mark. So really happy to have that. A couple things I just want to kind of set the stage with a little bit is Hitachi, one of the main mission statements at Hitachi is in regards to powering and contributing to society. So anything we do, any decisions we make, any products we release, any roadmaps, we're asking a basic question is how will that contribute to society, right? And if we don't think it really will, we won't do it. So I just want to, at a very high level, there's 3 key business segments within Hitachi, right? We have connected industries, which kind of sits with a lot of the elevators and escalators and hardware, maybe the appliances, more of the traditional things that you kind of think of Hitachi from 30, 40, 50 years ago. So that's connected industries. Overall, we're a $60 billion company, but it's broken out primarily in these three groups. And we have digital systems and services. That is where the group that you're hearing from today is going to fit within this block. And then we also have our energy and mobility, which is Hitachi Railroads. Hitachi Energy represent the majority of that group. We won't be talking about that group today. But just at a very high level, I just wanted to kind of set the stage in how Hitachi, One Hitachi is structured. And with that, I wanted to give, we kind of just created a kind of funny video that will do a lot better job than what I'm doing in regards to One Hitachi, but it gives you an idea of just a great marketing piece that they put together. So I'll just play this. It's about a 2-minute video, and then I'll hand it over to Ted to go over our data infrastructure. So thanks again for coming. I know it's late on Wednesday afternoon. I appreciate you guys making the effort to come over, and hopefully you'll get something out of this. So enjoy this. And off we go.
Fine. What are we even filming here today?
It's called Hitachi, Action for a Sustainable Future. Should we move on?
Now this is action.
Actually, the action we're taking here is to efficiently connect wind farms to millions of homes and businesses.
So we're not flying through the spinning blades.
No, that would be ridiculous.
Nice train.
Thanks. It's the next generation battery hybrid, which means it's
also a robot.
What? No, it's helping to fight carbon emissions.
I fight a robot, got it.
Okay.
Bad guys there.
No, Gen AI and cloud storage. We've achieved enterprise-grade AI in data centers with up to 96% less CO2.
Oh. You go on without me.
Let's go on together, shall we?
What's happening?
Our robotic systems are building batteries for electric school buses.
Sounds evil.
It's literally the exact opposite of that.
Oh, we can't take that chance. Cool gadget.
We worked with a medtech firm to develop this life-saving digital technology.
It's a jetpack.
It protects at-risk cardiac patients.
Makes you invisible.
No.
It's a time machine. You sure this is my kind of action movie?
It's everyone's. Only by taking action together can we achieve a sustainable future.
You mean save the world?
You said it.
Great. I'm going to hand it over to Hitachi Vantara. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Paul. So before I introduce Hitachi Vantara, I want to start with, I'm Ted DuBois. I'm the Director of Offering Development for our Hyperscale and Cloud business unit. And to tell you who Hitachi Vantara is, I want to share a little bit about where we came from. So we are a subsidiary of Hitachi Limited, which has been a global leader in engineering and manufacturing for well over 100 years. And they've been able to do that because of an intense focus on reliability, on an intense focus on innovation, and maybe most importantly, building trust with customers. And that is a rich tradition that Hitachi Vantara inherited when Hitachi Data Systems was started in 1989 and is now called Hitachi Vantara. As an organization, we focus on digital infrastructure, like Paul said. We provide data management solutions that our customers rely on for scalability, performance, reliability, that allows them the ability to manage their IT environments in a way that allows them to gain value and information and insights out of their data that powers their organizations forward. So one of the things that customers come to Hitachi Vantara for is because of some of the benefits and the differentiators that we've brought into the market through innovation. Whether that's the 4-to-1 adaptive data reduction that we guarantee to our customers, the 100% availability guarantee, or even just our commitment to zero our ability to give customers the zero compromise when it comes to data availability and then also to security. And as a result of that, 85% of the Fortune 500 companies trust Hitachi Vantara for their data management. So like we said, Hitachi Limited is a very large organization. There's almost 900 subsidiaries, which we call Hitachi Group companies. And as a result of that, that gives us a unique ability to work with them to identify what are the challenges they face within these business industry verticals. Some examples of that might be a 3,000-bed hospital group or a medical insurance provider or heavy equipment manufacturing, trains, and so forth. And so as a result, those insights that we gain of understanding what their challenges they're facing, and we're able to pair that with the challenges that we hear from our own customer base, and are able to put those together to understand what organizations need from an IT perspective, and what innovation we should be focused on. And so today I want to talk about some of those challenges. So the first is very high level. A lot of organizations are trying to understand how do they shift to the cloud? How much to shift to the cloud? What does that hybrid strategy look like? And that's a high level one that, the concerns around what is the reliability, what is the cost, what is the security, that's not specific to the cloud, but that's specific to all IT environments. And so when you start to look at more tactical challenges, a lot of customers that we talk to are trying to figure out, as data has exploded over the last 5-10 years, how do they migrate that data into the cloud without jeopardizing the customer experience, and even more importantly, the business operations processes that are currently in effect. And then from an application standpoint, they need the right data in the right place for performance, for that business or that customer experience that we talked about. And so it's not just getting the data there, but it's getting it in the right place, getting the application running in the most efficient way possible. And then once it's there, how do you integrate it? How do you break down those operational silos that organizations so often struggle to put together? And then from an app development standpoint, we hear from a lot of customers of how do you break that app development pipeline away from the on-premise capacity constraints of trying to spend more time utilizing or trying to get the resources that they need, and being able to shift that to the cloud and be able to utilize the scale and efficiency that comes with using cloud app development. And then once you've done all that and you've solved those challenges, the last one is how do you extract the valuable insights from that data? But it's not just extracting those insights, it's extracting those insights in a timely manner that you can action those at the right time to move that business forward. And so when you really look at it, all of those challenges are instrumental in itself. But then I'm going to throw another one at you. A lot of organizations are sitting here saying, hey, how do I solve these challenges, but also achieve our sustainability goals? And oftentimes they tend to be go at one another and butting heads. But with Hitachi, Paul mentioned that a motto that we have is social innovation, right? Of doing the right thing in the right way to move humanity forward. And so, sustainability is something that we care deeply about. Hitachi Vantara is gold certified by EcoVadis, which is the preeminent sustainability group that does research and certifies organizations. And so, from your perspective, you might say, hey, that's great that Hitachi Vantara is moving in that direction, but how can we help you? And so that's where, from an innovation standpoint, Hitachi's put a lot of time and effort towards providing sustainable solutions. And so about 60 days ago, a report came out that we participated in a research project around, comparing the various data platforms that are available today, and then looking at what is the performance, so IOPS, divided by the amount of wattage required to achieve that performance. And we're very proud that Hitachi Vantara was not just awarded the top spot, but actually the top 3 spots. So from a performance per watt or energy usage, we have the top 3 performing platforms from a sustainability standpoint. And that's something that means a lot to our organization, and we think is going to help other organizations meet their sustainability goals. So when you look at the innovations that we brought out, within the last 6 months, we announced our VSP1 platform, which is Virtual Storage Platform 1, which is a comprehensive data platform that allows you to unify both block, object, and file storage into one seamless management plane. And so as a result of that, allows you to optimize your infrastructure and operations through built-in AI ops, allows you to accelerate distributed application innovation by being able to provide more agile development and deployment cycles, allowing teams to focus on innovation. And then last one is the ability to sort of react to shifting capabilities. So, shifting data requirements, GDPR, other things. So we find that a lot of organizations struggle with, it's fine to put stuff in the cloud now, or it's fine to put stuff on-prem now, but what happens is the environment changes or the landscape changes and different regulatory requirements come in. And so I want to talk about one specific solution today that's part of this VSP platform, which is our SDS block on AWS Cloud. And what it allows is, beyond just bringing enterprise-grade features and benefits into the cloud, such as improving performance, providing extreme reliability, one of the key things that we believe that it brings to customers is choice, ultimately, the choice of where they need their data. So our VSP1 block on AWS provides bidirectional replication, which allows you to move your data where you need it, when you need it, based on your own standards and guidelines within your organization. And so you're no longer, struggling with some of those challenges that I spoke about around getting your data in the right place with the right application and being able to drive those insights. And so why Hitachi and AWS? Hitachi is a very large organization, and we value our partners. And AWS is a very strategic partner of ours. We spend a lot of time and effort working together from a development and integration standpoint to allow us the opportunity to bring those enterprise features that customers need and want today and bring them into the cloud and be able to utilize them. The other thing that our partnership allows is the development and the sharing of that joint domain knowledge, right? So 900 companies within Hitachi Limited, there's a lot of deep expertise and domain knowledge in those industries. And we can pair that with AWS, who has over 18 years of domain knowledge when it comes to building cloud resources and cloud services. By bringing those together, we feel like we bring more value to our customers jointly than we would independently of one another. And then from a Hitachi Vantara standpoint, all of the solutions I talked about today, the SDS on AWS, it's available in the marketplace. It allows for seamless acquisition of our technology, deployment, utilization, and feel free to join us at 1864, which is our booth. We'd love to have conversations around the VSP1 platform family, and then also be able to show you demos and discuss what challenges you might be facing. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Chris Ansert, who is a executive with Toyota North America.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Chris Ansert, and as you mentioned, I am the group manager responsible for North American quality systems and technology platforms at Toyota, located in Plano, Texas. Today I want to talk to you guys about saving lives with technology. And there's a program that we started up a couple of years ago called Quality One, where we're completely transforming and modernizing how we operate as a quality organization. So from an agenda standpoint, I'll talk about the use cases that we see and how we're looking at that, our vision for how we want to operate as an organization, and the technology that enables us to operate that way. And it's a journey. We're just at our start, so we've got a long way to go, but we're making huge strides. So when we talk about technology and how it saves lives when it comes to vehicles, everybody thinks about ADAS systems. People think about dynamic cruise control, they think about lane keep assist, all of those technologies. But there are other technologies, out-of-vehicle technologies, that we see play just as important role and critical role in that. And so some of these include our enhanced product security. So defect tracking and resolution. How do we ensure that we're understanding what defects we're seeing in the field? How do we identify those? How do we come up with countermeasures and resolutions to those? Compliance with safety standards. Regulatory adherence is becoming a bigger and bigger challenge with BEVs in the market, right? So how do we ensure that we streamline that compliance, stay within our safety standards? Traceability is also big, and this just reaches back into manufacturing. So how do we maintain detailed records of every stage of the vehicle that we produce, right? So in the case where we do have a recall or a service campaign, we can quickly pull that data, identify what vehicles are within range, and get that issue resolved as quickly as possible. Third one, real-time vehicle monitoring. So Internet of Things integration. I think we all are aware that our vehicles are becoming more and more connected every day, and there's data coming off of those vehicles. there's diagnostic trouble codes, there's freeze frame data, there's CAN bus data. So from our standpoint, how can we utilize that information that's coming from the vehicle, understand it, come up with a fix or a resolution, and then use over-the-air technology to fix that problem before the customer even realizes it's there. So, and then rapid response to safety issues. So this again goes back to campaign management. How do we coordinate and manage the recall activity so it's done quickly? We can communicate effectively and efficiently back to our customers. Field reporting. Field reporting is huge. I'll talk about it here in a minute, but there are 30 different avenues of how we do field reporting. So whether a vehicle is at a dealership and a dealer sees the issue, whether it's a field engineer that's looking at a vehicle and sees an issue, field reports are critical to how we do early detection and early resolution. And then finally, reaching back into the supply chain, right? How do we ensure that the parts that are delivered to our manufacturing facilities meet or exceed Toyota's safety and quality standards? So those are all avenues that we're tackling with this program. So in order to do that and to transform and modernize the way that we work, we kicked off the Quality One program. And this was done in 2021. And the goal is to improve all aspects of, ranging from integrated feedback loops to quicker identification and resolution of our quality issues. So we came up with 6 what we call imperatives. These are 6 things that are at the core, our North Star for the Quality One program. The first one is enterprise communication. How do we eliminate silos across such a large organization as Toyota, whether it's working with our counterparts in Japan or Europe or South Africa or Australia? How do we make sure that we're getting the right data to the right folks at the right time? Product expansion. Toyota has taken a portfolio approach to powertrain. So, from a company perspective, we don't believe that there's just one solution for how we should power our vehicles. So this includes hybrid batteries, hybrid vehicles, plug-in hybrids, battery electric vehicles, but then also fuel cells. Right? So how do we come up with a solution that can support what we need today and support all of those platforms, but then also be future-looking? There may be other forms of mobility that we'll need to support. And then how do we future-proof our technology? Right? How do we make sure that it's resilient, it's reliable, and that it can scale on demand? And then structural impact. How do we do things better than what we do them today? How do we completely change and reform a system that's been in place for decades, right? How do we improve that? How do we reduce the number of touch points? Again, going back to the enterprise communication, getting the data to the right people at the right time. And then ultimately, faster resolution. How do we leverage that connected data and AI technologies to identify a problem and get it resolved more quickly? And then finally, market expansion. So we want to look at this as the opportunity for us to break down those silos and operate as a North American region. Today, Mexico, Canada, the US are all different legal entities. So how do we restructure that? So for the Quality One program, our real key is no more of that, right? We want single systems across all of North America, sharing data back and forth. And the goal of that is to take those imperatives and understand how they impact research and development, production engineering, purchasing, production, sales, and service through the entire value chain. And so taking those imperatives that we've outlined for Quality One, we are really and truly looking at the total lifecycle support, right? Taking that as our North Star and looking at a closed loop quality system, starting with vehicle service information. So you would be amazed at how many documents our technicians have to go through every day. That includes repair manuals, owner's manuals, technical service bulletins. You name it, there are millions and millions and millions of documents that go through that vehicle service information. Just as a little interesting note, the new Tundra repair manual is over 10,000 pages. So the vehicles are becoming more and more and more complex. So And then when they have those, when the dealers have these issues, they need the ability to kind of call for support, right? So our technical assistance, that's exactly what that is. There's the ability to communicate digitally through chat, or there's also the ability, there's a call center where our dealers can talk to a product engineer to get resolution to those. And just to kind of put that in scale, if you look out a little bit larger, we've got 2,500 dealers across the US, Canada, and Puerto Rico. We've got 40 million units in operation today in those countries. And we're also supporting 4,500 independent repair facilities. So these are your privately owned, non-Toyota dealerships that we support. And then the field reporting. And I talked about this a minute ago. There's over 30 different ways we can get information from the field. And product quality is using this. This is critical to their role. So they're looking at customer feedback. They're looking at the field quality reports that are coming in, data from previous early detection, early resolution activities, quality audits that we do at our suppliers and our manufacturing plants, and then also warranty data. And we're taking that information and we're working with R&D and our 15 North American manufacturing facilities to understand what is going on with that particular issue. Is it something that's a design-related issue? Is it a manufacturing-related issue? What's going on? And then that also includes, give or take, 1,000 suppliers in North America, supplying over 300,000 parts to our 15 manufacturing sites. So, and with that, we're also collecting parts. So when we have these field investigations, we are getting parts back from the dealers. We need systems to track those parts, understand what's going on, taking evidence of those parts, pictures, videos, audio files, and then finally determining from a quality issue perspective, is this a repeat? Is it something new? If it's something new, how big is it, right? What's the criticality? Is it a service recall, or is it as critical as, hey, we need to stop selling the vehicle immediately in order to protect our customers? And then finally, and some would argue the most important piece is compliance, right? Working with government entities such as NHTSA and CARB, it's critical that we maintain that level of compliance with them, right? And as many of you may know, with the introduction of BEV, that compliance is becoming more and more critical. So they will, in some cases, if we're not compliant, there are very large fines in the multi-millions of dollars. And there's also, they can force OEMs to stop sale of a vehicle. So that's the world that we're looking at. And then going into this, right, we were taking all into an account, and we knew that in order to fulfill our mission here, there were going to be multiple applications that were going to be needed in order to achieve what we want to achieve over the next couple of years. And so Toyota has a long-standing relationship with Hitachi, 20 plus years. And so we partnered with Hitachi on helping us deliver our vision for what we want to see from a quality perspective and quality transformation. And we knew in those applications that, that there was a lot of commonality from a capability and a services perspective, right? So what we were trying to do is and we don't have, as any company does not have unlimited funds and resources, right? So we need to think about how we work smarter and faster and cheaper. And those were kind of really the goals of how we approached the program, right? One, like reducing time to market, reduction in application complexity, and increasing reusability and reducing total cost of ownership. So when we did that, we started to think about a platform approach with common services and functions. And that's what you see on the right. We stood up a Quality One platform that provides critical services across multiple applications, both new and legacy. So in that, and if you look at this picture here, it encompasses everything from administration, and that includes user administration. So in the past, IT had to step in and do a lot of behind-the-scenes work to provision users and grant access, change feature permissions, things like that. Today, all of that is managed by our business counterparts. We don't need to be a part of that. And then on the disaster recovery side, right, prior to Quality One, and I think we've all been there, dealing with aging infrastructure and code, right? So it was very brittle, and disaster recovery was not really an option. So how do we strengthen that, right? Now we've got it down to just a few minutes where we can switch from US East to US West from a disaster recovery perspective, and it's all automated. And then from a user interface standpoint, we wanted commonality across all of that. We wanted a common UI and UX for all of the applications that sit on the platform. And you can see here, we've got document viewers, we've got the UI shell, we've got NAQ authoring, and that's one of the things that I think in this layer is a little bit unique is that we author documents, we author technical bulletins, we author service bulletins, repair manuals. All of those are legal documents, right? And so we've implemented an authoring platform as part of this. So that's what the technicians actually see. And then how do we view those documents? That's not something that's an easy solution. There's an easy solution. We have multiple formats: HTML, PDF, DITA. We've got electrical wiring diagrams that show every circuit of the vehicle. So how do we build a single viewer that multiple applications can plug into to get that information? And then with business services, those documents that get produced, right? How do we access those? APIs for the, to integrate with the data layer, the data services layer, our search capabilities with OpenSearch, and then case management. How do we really and truly define the business processes of what we're dealing with? And then moving down, maybe some more standard items, data services, whether it's app sync from cloud to legacy on-prem, indexing with OpenSearch. All of those data services are used to provide information across the entire application stack. And then on the operational database side, we started to really reimagine how this data that we have is going to be laid out. So that, that includes, vehicle data, product quality data, customer data, telematics data, service history data, parts data. And we looked at those as domains and how do we surface that information to reduce the complexity that our applications are having to go through to get that information up to a semantic layer so then they can display it to the users. And then from an events and an integration standpoint, right? How do we manage real-time, integrations both internally within Toyota, but then also externally within Toyota? Maybe a good example of this is if you go to toyota.com/recall and you put in your VIN, and it will tell you if your vehicle is part of a recall or not. Well, that's actually calling one of our event services. So, how do we communicate internally and externally within the organization? And then omni-channel communication, right? I talked a minute ago about our technical assistance. So we're using AWS Connect to facilitate our call centers. We've got a warranty call center, and we have a technical assistance service call center that is all on AWS Connect. And then finally, the reporting piece of it, right? So how do we make sure that we're getting right information to the right users at the right time and visualizing that? And then one of the things that we're in the process of doing now as well is how do we layer Gen AI on top of all of this? So this is going to, we're in the process of modernizing this, and this is the way it looks today, but it's going to grow, it's going to change. So, but the thing is out of the 15 different products that we use from AWS, our goal is to focus on the delivering business value and improving user experience, right? While we can exceed our customers' expectations on quality and safety. So that is the presentation for me. I think I will hand it.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mark Murrin from Global Logic. I'm the Global Alliance Lead, so I look after what Global Logic does with AWS across our different industry areas. And just a couple of comments on Global Logic. As you heard Paul mention at the beginning, we are the product engineering, digital services part of Hitachi. So we're in the business of creating products for our customers, digital products and services and platforms. So I'm going to comment a little bit on what that looks like and how it lands with our customers. So let's get going. So what sets us apart? We probably have these three pillars that Global Logic kind of lives and dies by from a product development perspective. So you've got design for desirability, engineered for excellence, and curated for intelligence. So, but what do they mean? Now, design for desirability, that is about the fact that we, from the very early part of the software development lifecycle, the product development lifecycle, we bring the engineering design process together. And what that means that we're able to do is work with our partners like AWS to build digital products. And we want them to be great, we want them to be innovative, we want them to be functional, but actually we'd also like them to be desirable. We want our customers to like them, to use them, and to feel that they've had fantastic service from Global Logic. So, curated for intelligence, that one is I can't overemphasize the importance of that one. It's about the data being the absolute backbone of what we do and how we deliver it through that product development lifecycle. And that is where we start to bring and understand the data at every single phase of that development of that product and use it and leverage it to the absolute maximum for a great experience where you can start to see all the elements around Gen AI percolate through all sorts of different products and services and platforms. And then engineered for excellence. Of course, you know, we want to be proud of the products that we deliver, and we want them to be executed to the highest standards. So that is simply the three elements that we use that kind of define how we work and talk to our clients and develop the products that they're looking for to meet the challenges that they've got. So how does that come through then? So we have these 7 integrated service offerings. Whilst they look like they're individual, they actually don't fall into silos. They combine through all sorts of mechanisms to deliver products and platforms and services. So if you look at software product engineering, that is us going through with accelerators and solutions that move the customers through that phase to develop and deliver those requests that they have for emerging technology, new innovation that will address certain challenges that they've got. And those challenges might be within the business, they might be external. So it's a combination of those two. And invariably, you'll find that if we can deliver that, then we also have the ability to enable that transformation within the organization, within our client's organization. That might well be changes to business model, enabling the technologies so they start to reap the benefit of using new services and new ways of working and so forth. And the intelligence engineering is going back to that point around the data and the AI elements within this are absolutely critical, and they will start to inform where the companies go, what the clients need. And of course, under all of this, there will always be the need to modernize platforms, whether that is systems that are on premises today or moving to cloud-native solutions in the future. And the point around ecosystem value engineering, that is about the fact that Global Logic needs to do this with our partners. We do all of this with businesses like AWS, where we collaborate on what these solutions might look like for our clients. So Global Logic operates in a range of different industries, and we bring to bear all of that you've seen on the previous slide into the domain expertise that we have in these particular areas. So the conversations that we end up having with clients may well be redefining the industry that they're in or reshaping it. And you see an awful lot of that. So we'll go on to talk about how that looks, for example, in automotive. So I won't spend any more time going through the different industry areas, but you can see that all of those areas all require products and services, and they're always trying to innovate and move forward. So Global Logic is an automotive services competency partner with AWS, and that is a recognition that we have the capabilities that I've been mentioning, in particularly around software-defined vehicles. So if you take that vehicle life cycle, it goes through a number of different phases. So design and engineering, distribution, usage, and maintenance. And the vehicles that we've got now are increasingly entirely software. So there's more software and data points going on in the vehicles that we've got now, and that's only increasing. You've heard Chris mention about the complexity that's involved there. So software-defined enablement, that really is covering digital connected, digital cockpits, for example. That's looking at areas like ADAS, and all of that is platforms and architected. It's cloud connected, so very much software driven. And then the digital engagement, that is changing significantly at the moment. So you have OEMs that have a typical dealer network, but you have OEMs that are also now going to market directly to you and I, where you have models that you can only buy online. You'll configure them to exactly what you'd like, the features that you'd like, the pieces that you don't want. And that's changing and transforming the dealer engagement as well. And then you've got the vehicle itself, okay? So we've said that a lot of the vehicles are increasingly software heavy, full of data points. So they are connected. They're connected within the vehicles, high complexity, but they're also connected all the time to cloud services. So you heard Chris talk about the information flows, where it's going, where it's being gathered. But also with a vehicle today, the OEMs are also looking at different ways to continuously monetize that vehicle. So the idea of subscription services seems daft, but you can subscribe to features that you want or don't want. And it means that the vehicle can potentially consistently change. So what the vehicle was when the first owner took it might be entirely different to the features that the second owner has, for example. And then because it's software, they need to be constantly updated. And those new features need to be in the vehicle and safe, but not impacting, my driving the car and so forth. And then, of course, that is impacting what the maintenance looks like. So yes, the cars still go to garages, they go to the dealership, they get serviced, but this time you've also got a heavy element of looking at the software within the vehicle and understanding all of those different pieces. So I'm going to just focus a little bit more now on the SDV enablement. So we have the ability to talk to our customers around the products and software development and the platforms across vehicle lifecycle. So if you take the second example in there, scalable SDV platform architectures. So that's a set of solutions and products that we've worked with a large European OEM, premium brand, and so forth. And we've done work with them because those organizations are having to transition fleets from petrol to full EV, and what you'll end up with is that those OEMs are moving from what kind of traditional ECUs with all the silicon, all the code on the chips, and they were very much inflexible. So the car that you got was the car that you kept, and if you wanted a new feature, it was a new ECU, and there was a high level of dependency in the way that they were architected. So very much hardware centric. The transition, however, that's happening at the moment in various phases is that is now moving to software driven, where it's now a domain focused approach to the architecture. And that gives greater flexibility on what is done within the vehicle without impacting other areas of the vehicle. So some of the dependencies are removed, but you also get the flexibility to then start adding features into the car, given that it is essentially software on wheels. And the final bit, which is more of a nirvana, and OEMs are all at varying stages as they electrify fleets, is more fully software defined. So that's about smart platforms for the car. So that is where it is zonal, and that means that everything within the vehicle has some dependencies, but you can start to do different updates, different engineering, different software versions on different parts of the way the vehicle works. Now what that gives is complete and utter flexibility for an OEM to put that platform in on all sorts of different models, and using the software, build it exactly as they want for that model and that look and the feel and the features. Now that has got some very, very significant complexity to it. So you've gone from the cars being built, very much hands-on, to actually tens of thousands of software developers that could be located anywhere around the globe, different time zones, different business areas, with focus on cockpit, safety, data management, and so forth. Now they all need to collaborate to bring that together for that car to actually leave and be something that you and I want to drive and enjoy. And we have certain expectations of the quality of that. But actually bringing all of that together so that they are truly collaborating is a huge challenge, and it doesn't particularly scale that easily. So where Global Logic has come into that conversation is, how do we help those OEMs create a very robust platform that lets them scale, lets them build this out exactly how they want and deliver it. Now that is something that we have, for example, in the Amazon marketplace, the AWS marketplace, and that's SDV Cloud Framework. And that works all the flows of data, it connects all of the developers, it looks after all the code refresh, all the iteration, but it has the guardrails, the governance and the security that you would want and expect, because these vehicles are being driven. So you can't afford to have anything happen from a software hiccup perspective. So that's an example of the sort of work that Global Logic does in automotive. I hope that gives you a good flavour for the type of organisation that we are and where we play with Hitachi. There's a huge amount of synergy there. So that's me for the day. If you'd like to understand a bit more about what we do and how we do it, then please pop in and see us in the expo, and we'd be more than happy to help. Thank you very much.